What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And today, I'm going to be continuing my series of revisiting the Star Wars saga with the Phantom Menace, the first episode in the prequel trilogy. Now, I know a lot of people hate the prequel trilogy, and I know a lot of people don't like this film. And first of all, I grew up with the prequel trilogy, so I love these films. And I promise I won't let I promise I'll try my best to not let my personal bias get in the way of what I think of the quality of these films overall. And for this one, Star Wars has always been a simple story. Like I say, Solo is a fun movie because it's very simple. This one feels like it overcompensates. It's more complicated than it really needs to be, and a lot of the Senate stuff just doesn't work that well. But, you know, let's get to the artificial things, like the CGI. I know a lot of people complain about. I think it's probably worse when you get to the other two movies. But this one I think looks pretty good. They used a lot of models, like the Bunta Eve pod race in all the overhead shots. The whole audience, the spectators, they're like just Q-tips in a model. Like, that's cool as heck. Like, a lot of the CG in the pod racing scene, the CGI, looks pretty good. A lot of it looks pretty good. Like, there's some shots that look kind of pretty bad. But overall, I think a lot of it looks pretty cool. And, you know, there's some pretty crummy acting in this movie. I'm not going to pretend that there isn't. Liam Neeson is a great actor, but he's not doing a great job in this movie, and it's because I think the script is pretty lackluster. Same with Ewan McGregor. He's not nearly as fun as he is in the other two movies. But I think that works for the character because of, like, how his character matures. But everything in the middle, where it does get simpler, and they're on Tatooine, and they're on the pod race, and they're setting up Anakin's character arc throughout all the films, works really well for me. I like all that stuff. I like all the setup for Anakin. I like young Anakin for the most part. I was laughing a few times unintentionally because of how stupid Jar Jar Binks' stuff was, and how stupid some of the... Not because I thought he was funny. And I think people over-exaggerate Jar Jar Binks. People made more of a federal case out of Rose Tico. I think that isn't really justified. I feel bad for the actress who played Rose, but anyway. But yeah, like, I like all the stuff in the middle. I think all that stuff is pretty fun. I like the creation of C-3PO. I like the introduction to R2-D2. I like all that stuff, and I like Darth Maul showing up and tracking them with those drones. And in some shots and throughout the whole, like, Tatooine section of the movie, the middle of the movie, is the part that I enjoy the most. And I really like all that stuff, like when they're going around, and in some background shots, you just see the drones flying around, and you realize, oh shoot, Darth Maul's getting closer and closer to finding out where they are. And then eventually he does find them and attacks them when they're about to leave Tatooine. And then I like Palpatine trying to become the Supreme Chancellor and kind of, like, manipulating people in a very sneaky way. I really like that. That feels in character for him. And, I like when they go to Coruscant and then they fight Darth Maul. And the Jedi Council, I think, is really dumb. Like, they're like, we will find out who this dark attacker was that attacked you. And they never actually get back to them on who it is. And then Qui-Gon dies. And then at the end, they're like, who was killed, the master or the apprentice? And it's supposed to be this cool line, but it's like, wait, you were supposed to find out who it was, and you still don't know. So it feels like in all these movies, I've always felt that the Jedi Council never even tries to do anything. They just sit around, and then even when people bring stuff to them, like, oh, you should train this young boy, they just shoot them down immediately. They're like, he's too young. Like, what? I don't know. The whole Jedi Council stuff, I think, is kind of dumb. And the Duel of Fates is awesome. With the whole score by John Williams is amazing. But like, the Duel of Fates is so cool that every other moment in the battle not on Coruscant. Is it Coruscant? No, it's called, Naboo. The whole battle on Naboo, all that stuff with them is so cool, but then it cuts back to Anakin not knowing what to do and flying around in circles, spinning, that's a good trick, and then Jar Jar Binks just being a goofball. It really slows down the pace of the battle and just kind of drags it out, because, like, every time it cuts back to Jar Jar or Anakin, I'm like, I want to see them fighting Darth Maul. So that battle's so cool, but, like, they just cut away from it so much that it really deflates a lot of the tension that you feel. Because all these little different battles that are happening, they aren't the same style of battle. It's not like Mission Impossible Fallout, where every battle in that movie, in the final battle, is intense and integral, and I love watching it. And I can't wait to see what's going on with the other characters. In this movie, it's like, I love the Darth Maul fight, but every other character, all the stuff that's going on with them is kind of boring compared to the main battle. But there are still great elements in this movie, like I say, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it, so maybe that makes me appreciate it more. But there is some boring and drawn-out stuff with the Senate and all that, but I like the way it sets it up for the rest of the trilogy, and I really like this movie a lot. I know that that's not the same for everybody, and I understand why people don't like it, but for me, it has a special place in my heart. I grew up with it, and now that I look back on it, it does have flaws, but it has some great elements, like the setting up of Anakin's character arc. But the whole Padme and Anakin thing is really stupid because, like, he ages 10 years in Attack of the Clones, and it seems like Padme hasn't aged a day. All this stuff is dumb. But I really like Darth Maul. He's a subtle character with not much dialogue, and he's very, like, creepy and interesting. Yeah, I really like this movie a lot. I think it does a good job in quite a few areas, but there's some bad shots, some bad CGI. There's some really weird editing. Like, there's one part at the beginning where these droidekas are shooting at Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and then the characters, they're like, run, and then it kind of jump cuts, and then they like jump to the end of the hallway. It looks really weird and bad. And there's some weird like dubbing in this movie. Like, there's one line from Qui-Gon where you can tell they clearly didn't film it. So like I say, there are flaws with this movie, but I do appreciate a lot of things about it. I appreciate all the technical mastery, a lot of the CG, and like Watto and Jar Jar. Even though people don't like those characters, I personally like Watto, and I don't mind Jar Jar. They are still very interesting CG creations. So yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a B- or a C+. It's not a great film, but I have a lot of nostalgia for it, and I appreciate it. So stay tuned for the third part where I talk about Attack of the Clones. But as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.